Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. Each week, host Bryan O'Rourke brings you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse for what matters most for your business in the age of exponential technologies.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. I'm your host, Bryan O'Rourke, and this is episode 124 of the podcast. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to have a very special guest, Carrie Kepple Styles. Before we get into that interview, I wanted to suggest that you look in the show notes and check out the details for the upcoming IHRSA convention in Dallas, Texas in October. It's going to be a great event. Also, check out the details for the IHRSA event in Germany in November. It'll be wonderful to see our colleagues there and fist bump each other and say hello. It's been way too long, so please check out those details in the show notes, and I hope to see you there. As to our interview today with Carrie Kepple Styles, I have known Carrie for almost 15 years and have had the pleasure of working with her on the IHRSA Board of Directors. Carrie served as the chairwoman of IHRSA for a year, displaying incredible leadership. She joined the board with myself, Alan Leach, and Brad Wilkins. So she is part of a great class of leaders that have given a lot and worked with clubs all over the world, especially during the last year and a half with the unfortunate COVID pandemic. Carrie has held senior leadership roles in fitness with Gold's Gym International, where she was a head of group fitness and training for the organization. She's worked extensively as an international presenter for Les Mills International and has a lot of experience in club operations, where she was a senior leader for Les Mills Club Chain in New Zealand. More recently, Carrie has developed Style Studio, which is a very forward-thinking, interesting concept that she'll talk about during the interview, and we'll have some links for that for you to check out and learn more about that concept as well. I'm really happy to have my friend Carrie on and listen to her views about technology, what's happening in the club industry, and just a visit that has been long overdue. So without further ado, let's welcome Carrie to the podcast. Hello, listeners. As I was mentioning on the intro, Carrie Kepple Styles now, right, is joining us. And, you know, many of you might not realize this. I mentioned it a little in the intro, but Carrie and I have kind of indirectly or kind of directly worked with each other for about 15 years or so, which is amazing to me, Carrie. I didn't even really think about that until I was prepping for the interview. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been a while.
Now, are you joining us from your hometown outside of Peoria?
Yeah. So I'm in Peoria, Illinois, sitting here in our club, Style Studios Fitness, in the office.
Well, it's good to see you. You know, I know everyone likes to say, boy, it's been quite over a year and a half now. What the listeners may not know, and I mentioned again in the intro, is a little bit about the fact that you have served during that time until just recently, the end of June, as the chairwoman or chairperson for IHRSA during a really difficult and challenging time. And I know people read, Carrie, the kind of headlines on an organization like the International Health Racquet and Sports Club Association, IHRSA, and other trade organizations and different participants. But what's going on behind the scenes has been, you know, quite intense, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very turbulent year, and very rewarding at the same time. Obviously, you know, anytime you band together in arms with a collective team or in terms of being in, trying to come through a crisis together. It's very rewarding. But yeah, that the chair role kind of got landed on me very abruptly. So I was vice chair and then had to step into chair role not long after the pandemic hit, and we couldn't have our trade show. So as you know, but I loved being a part of the group and helping lead the group through that time, in the sense that everybody just pulled right together and said, okay, what do we got to do? And what I think that a lot of people might not know about behind the scenes is we instantly put together a weekly rhythm of meeting and calling and talking and putting in, thousands of man hours between us around trying to ensure that IHRSA stayed sustainable and strong so that it could support the industry through this tough time. There was a lot of criticism about the advocacy front. And I think that one of the beautiful positives that we've come through is that our trade association was sort of, forced to elevate its, I suppose, maturity around advocacy, in the sense that now we have strengthened that arm of the trade or of the association, and elevated that in terms of what we offer to the industry, and we're continuing to grow in that space. So I think that's hugely positive, and you'll see that in the appointment of our new CEO that we proudly just hired, as Liz Clark steps in, and it being a female executive in the business world, whether it's our industry or not, like to be able to also meet such a strong female leader, just leader in general, but like she's super inspiring to me personally. And I think she's going to be super inspiring to a lot of people. And she's definitely a strong hitter in the advocacy space. So that's really going to take us further. Not that that's all that we do, but I think historically people thought IHRSA, people thought trade show. And I think our trade association is really maturing into a true robust trade association that also has a great trade show.
Absolutely right. And you did a great job in your role as chair during a very difficult time, as did many of the members of the board. And, I really appreciate your leadership. And I know that there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to have a transitional person like Brent Darden step in, which we work with him to do, and then bring on a new CEO. So there are bright days ahead. And then, of course, the show in Dallas, the convention for 2021 in the middle of October. We know we will see you all there, so be on the lookout for that information. It's very exciting times. Dallas is a very highly vaccinated, geography, and there are, protection being taken place, and we feel very good about all the numbers we're seeing. So it'll be wonderful to get everyone back together again, won't it?
Yeah, the energy around the show is already growing and growing every day. The momentum is there. We're very excited for the show in October. So hope we get to see everybody.
Yeah, I think we will see quite a few of you. So let me know. You can email me, and the show notes below will have the convention information and details. So again, we hope to see you there. Now, in your roles, you were one of the head people at Gold's Gym International for a number of years in group fitness and training. You had an extensive background, and still do, of course, in Les Mills. You were in operations and club operations. You work with Les Mills International in group fitness. You've spoken around the world on a bunch of different subjects and trends. So can you speak a little bit about, and we'll move into the component of technology here. Let's talk about some trends. Obviously, you're very aware of the studio trends and other trends, but what are some of the key trends that you've witnessed in the prior number of years, and what you think you'll see and will see going forward, Carrie?
Well, if I could, just say, I think that, listening through listening to our industry for the last, maybe 5 to 10 years, and in terms of technology, there's a lot of talk about technology itself and how to apply it to your business. And my take on the whole thing, and I think the trend that we're finally getting to see here, is that technology is the vehicle of experience. So the first thing I think that we're starting to see is a wake up to all right, before you choose a technology, the idea is to craft the experience that you're trying to create for a customer through the eyes of the customer. So it's like, let me try to create an experience. Experience generally comes from, what's that old saying? People never remember what you say, but they'll always remember the way you make them feel. So it literally starts with emotion. It starts with a feeling. So it's like, what is the emotion I'm trying to create and the feeling I'm trying to create to elicit this awesome experience, whatever that is for the customer. And once I know that, and I can craft the path to that experience, the technology that I choose is going to make that possible. Right. So I feel like we tend to look at technology as the end solution versus the vehicle. And I think that right now I'm hearing more and more people understand that, also, I feel like people think that they pick a technology and they plop it down in their business and they think it's quote unquote integrated. It's like, you haven't threaded it and pulled it through the entire customer journey. It is not integrated, like it's, you have to really, again, come through the eyes of the customer, walk in the path that they're going to walk. And you have to make that journey happen. But all the technology just supports the human element as well. So, I mean, many years ago, I had a discussion back when I lived in New Zealand. I remember being in a meeting and us talking about that very topic of what should we keep as human touch and what should we automate, and back then that was a really early conversation to have, because I think a lot of people in the room were like, say what? Like automate. So I think that's part of a trend. If, at a high level, I also think that with that same thought process in mind, especially when it comes to, we've always kind of had sales and marketing and technology in these silos, not really understanding how they actually, weave together into an ecosystem that drives your business forward, so everything needs to tie together smoothly. So again, from the time a prospect enters the system, how it funnels through, how they reach your people, how they're either automatically connected with to trigger the next action, and then the person that you have on the other side takes it from there, and how that all works in order to give them the best experience to convert them into your business. And, and then there's all the technology that helps you keep them there after that. But yeah, so I think that our industry has matured a lot, but I definitely think COVID accelerated what we were avoiding before, which was, oh, everything's going okay. We don't really need to really think about technology holistically, because what we're doing is making enough money and people are getting fit and, it's working. But then when COVID hit, it was like, okay, we need to rethink our business. We need to rethink our operations, and not just in virtual versus on-site, but really rethink. Because one of the trends that I think is happening from a customer perspective is they aren't buying on price reductions right now. They are buying on the best experience you can give me. And I want to be connected to people. I want to be in a community. I want to have a great experience when I invest in myself in some place. So I will pay a little bit more for that, which I'm sure there's still lots of people out there that'll still want the cheap and cheerful, but I'm seeing less and less of that pushback on price, because I think right now we're in a new era of a customer who wants an experience. Mm-hmm. So those are a few things that I see coming down the pike. It's not really a technology trend, but the last trend that I'll share right now is we are seeing more than ever fitness evolving beyond the body into the brain. So mental fitness and brain health is elevating to a level that you better get on board. You just better get on board. If you're a fitness operator, or you're a vendor, or you're whatever, it is this more, whole life wellness type of thing. I don't know what exactly you want to call it, but mental fitness and physical fitness, body health and brain health, they are going hand in hand, and the reciprocity between the two, with the mental health issues caused by the trauma of COVID now soaring. We actually are, and always have been, a mental health solution. We've never marketed ourselves that way, and we've never positioned ourselves that way. And that is a blue ocean for our industry, and technology will fit into that. It just will. And so, we haven't even seen the start of that, I don't think, from a tech perspective, but it is a new arena that is coming. That's what I think.
Yeah, as technology evolves, what is human becomes more valuable. I think you are right. And yes, integrating technology, we talk about them being the execution engines. Human capital is a big component of that, right? I mean, in general about that, as we think about technology and the jobs and roles that people are going to be doing in health clubs, because, you look at professionals with certain exclusions. So SoulCycle instructors, for example, making several $100s a class sometimes. Outside of these kind of exceptions, do you see the opportunity to pay people more money, train them better by reducing the demand on people's time generically and replacing it with automation, but then at certain touch points having really awesome people at those touch points?
Yeah, I think it's a real opportunity for our industry to elevate the perception of us into more of professional career opportunities, because, when the mundane things that we used to pay pennies for people to do are now automated, we can now focus on elevating like actual, like careers where we have roles within our facilities that are bigger, more responsible roles when it comes to customer service and what we're actually managing in terms of an experience versus data entry. Like, we don't need to do that anymore.
Yep. So when you were, and let's move in a little bit into Style Studio, which is a unique concept, and I've seen it and studied a bit. You've been kind enough to share some information on that. I remember during your journey in starting this up, which is a startup, from scratch, you all developed multiple brands around it. How was your technology journey around that, building that concept out? Can you share some of those details to the listeners?
Sure, absolutely. Well, when we started down this path, and it took us the better part of 3 years to get to, because we spent our time deep in white papers from IHRSA research and other things to really understand, again, from the eyes of the consumer, what we were trying to create. And Style Studios Fitness is a hybrid. Well, I guess you call it a hybrid if you want. It's a club of studios. So inside you have 4 highly potent boutique fitness studios and a gym floor that they surround. So the gym floor is the nice to have, but the boutique studios are all under one roof, So when we were thinking about this concept of bringing the best of the boutique and the best of the traditional club and sort of putting them together, we had one strategic question that we filtered our technology choices through. And that was, is it frictionless for the customer? Not us, but is it frictionless? And so when we were out, looking for the technology that was going to execute the experiences that we were trying to create, if it was frictionless and it didn't have an open API and it didn't play nice with the others, we said, well, you're cool, but no, thank you. Like, I don't want clunky. I don't want them to have multiple apps. Everything that they manage is through one clean, crisp app, and everything dials into that. And if you want our business, we are playing it this way, right? And so so we shopped a lot to build the technology ecosystem that you see here in our club today, which, is pretty robust, but really the member would not know it was robust. It's just slick and streamlined, right?
Yep.
But to back up a little bit, when I said to you at the beginning, before you choose your technology, and that's the way we choosed it, but before we knew what to look for that's frictionless. We started with that member experience. And one of the things that I used to do this, now granted, this is how valuable the IHRSA trade show is, because I went to one convention, because I went, I've gone tons of times, but the one year that I went and I saw that, I can't remember his name. He's from the Netherlands. I think he was a keynote speaker on small data. Do you remember this guy? He wrote a book about small data.
You're talking about, but I can't remember offhand. I'm sorry.
One thing that he said, and I was living and working in New Zealand for the Les Mills New Zealand clubs, and I went back so excited to apply this to the next new club that I was about to open, Les Mills New Market. And I'm telling you, this concept, I was like, everybody needs to do this. So he talked about, in theater, there are two scripts to a play. There's the blue script and the green script. The blue script is all the logistics, the plot, the lines, the characters, all that stuff that happens, the scenes. The green script, though, if you didn't know, is laid on top of the blue script. And it is, how do we want the audience to feel in each and every scene of the play? And so it's the emotional script. What emotions do I want to evoke from my audience in every single point of that script? And he challenged us, and I don't know how many people picked up on it, but he said, literally take the floor plan of your facility. The blue script is what you see in front of you right now. There are the toilets, there's the entrance, there's reception, there's the gym floor, blah, blah, blah. And he said, apply a green script on top of it. Pen and paper to every point in your gym and your floor plan. How do I want the customer to feel at this point in the club when they're standing, and then this point, and then this point, and then this point, right? And so as an example, like when we're creating styles, it's down to simple things like, if I know I want them to feel the exciting energy from the parking lot as they're walking into the gym, and it gets more and more and more and more exciting, we purposely, under the awning outside, put out outdoor speakers. And we made sure that we spent the extra on automatic doors, so that when you're coming in with the energy, you've got your bag on, you don't have a break in that energy. You don't have to grab a handle and pull a door open. It's just you feeling invited already. You feel the energy, the music is good, and you're already getting in that escapism. Yeah, I'm here, I'm ready to rock, And then much different how I want them to feel in the locker room versus how I want them to feel in the hot yoga room versus, so once you do that and you're talking about the physical experience, you can start to figure out operationally how you want your people to play a role in that, and then what technologies you want to apply to make that pop and come to life.
Yep, user experience design, exactly.
Yeah, emotive design, or whatever you call it.
Yeah. And isn't it generally true? I mean, it's, I hate to make generalizations, but for a lot of people going through this journey, or even people that have existing clubs, do you find sometimes that they can be preoccupied with what is a cool feature about this or that technology or this or that thing, and then if they're not doing what you're describing, that's where kind of a breakdown happens?
Yeah, it takes discipline. It really does. Because you're going to get on demo calls with some really cool software and some really cool stuff, and you're going to listen to some great things, and you're going to go, wow, that feature is so cool, I think, right? But then it takes discipline to go, okay, back it up, take myself aside. Would the customer think it's cool? And more importantly, does it integrate smoothly with everything else? Or is it going to cause a clunky friction that the customer has to suffer through in order to enjoy that feature?
Right.
So
Right.
Transitions from technology and cause friction, so you're absolutely right. It can be so easy to get caught up in what's cool, or, but it's only one little piece of the whole picture.
Right, you're absolutely right. And of course, I know you all do online stuff as well. You do an omnipresence strategy with content. You have 4 different unique group fitness branded experiences in the club, right?
Yeah. So we have Hustle is our strength and conditioning. That one is our most exclusive IP. The workouts are made fresh daily. strength and conditioning. We have an immersive cycle studio, a nightclub style group fitness studio with more traditional group fitness, and we have a hot yoga, Pilates, meditation styles studio. And we had an omnipresence presence type of strategy from the beginning that we were trying to pull off, but then COVID just pushed us into that hard, right? So I don't think we're 100%. We have these other, we still are evolving some of the things that we had to birth really quickly out of COVID, out of necessity. And some of which I'll share, I think. So out of COVID, and a lot of us are in the same boat. The first thing was your customers couldn't come to the gym, or they were too afraid to come to the gym. So you started to create this omnipresence for that audience, pushing yourself to that audience, right? Well, now that we're coming out of COVID, you have to consider that audience that engaged with you before, they are the active 20%. They are going to come back now. So you're wasting too much of your time if you're trying to be ultimately omni-channel to the same people. Yes, offer an extension of yourself to those people, but if you truly want to grow your brand and engage with the, I suppose we call them the indifferent believers, the missing 65%, the ones that we always want to sell a membership to. They know they kind of want to do it, but they're too afraid. They have too many excuses to mask their fear of vulnerability, that, whatever it is. Yeah. And so I guess the idea now is to consider, if you're going to extend yourself, are you touching that crowd, or are you only still catering to that same 20%? Because they're already only paying you for one thing, right? So, start to think about how now in a post-COVID world, the necessities have now changed back towards what they were before, but are still different than before, in the sense that, people got a taste of, virtual experiences or online experiences. And so now in Styles, for example, through our club app, that the members, that's exclusive to members, the one thing that we do have is in two of our studios where we have the classes we create, we have a live stream camera with a specific schedule that does kind of the Peloton effect. They can push the button on their app and they can stream it to their smart TV at home, or if they're on vacation, and they can either join us for the live class or they can do it on demand later, right? So we do have a little bit of the Peloton effect going on in here, which I will say has helped us. It really protected us from an extensive amount of people wanting to freeze, because they were like, well, I still want to do it at home. So I'm like, okay, great, you can, So that is a retention protection, if anything. But when it comes to new acquisition, we haven't nailed it yet. We're still evolving it, but we did trademark hustle at home, because hustle is our main thing, but we're still evolving the nature of it beyond just workouts, and who we're catering to, and revisiting that audience, like I just said before. So I think you just have to think broader than what we've always traditionally thought of.
Yeah, that's true today. And, so it must be a very, both informative and educating experience, as well as interesting, because, you had, been very involved in programming at a senior level with Golds, and then, very involved in the Les Mills programming, and then actually very involved in club operations in New Zealand. So, but it's one thing then to go out and start your own concept from scratch, right?
Yeah.
It's vigorous, it's exciting, but it's also maybe scary and new. But were you inspired to do that because of your background and working with other folks and trying to say that, hey, this is something that you and Amy wanted to do because of that? I mean, what drove that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, it nearly killed us, and it nearly killed me. But it it's been a fun journey. It's been worth it. But there is, for everybody out there listening who has put yourself on the line before, and all that you are and all that you own and all that you love, and, you sacrifice it for a dream of creating and being that artist of business, kudos to you, because it's not easy. And when you're a startup, nobody wants to believe in you. They're like, yeah, I heard this before, da, 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 da. And it's hard to get people to see your vision, and it's hard to get people to, give you any kind of concession that the big guys get right now. You just kiss that goodbye real quick, so all of it's hard. But look, Amy and I, my wife Amy, I met in New Zealand, and we're kind of like, we're a great partnership, because I come from a lot of business acumen, and she comes from a wealth of knowledge in programming and training and fitness, all that side of it, as well as she's kind of a awesome tech head. She built our website from scratch, stylestudiosfitness.com. It's pretty cool. And I'm like, I can't believe she's, so she just likes the tech and the marketing as well. So we together collectively, we cover a lot. But when we wanted to move, we have a 5-year-old son now. We wanted to move back to America to be closer to my family. And my parents live in Central Illinois. And when we were coming back, we're like, well, we thought about it about a year and a half before. We're like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to work for? What's it, And so we, I think I might have reached out to you saying, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I think we talked about that once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we just kind of came down to the, you know what? Let's see if we can put all of our experience, through the years together and develop our own concept. And if it feels like we're on to something enough, then we're going to fight for it and we're going to go for it. And so that's really how it's done. I will never forget our very first business meeting, quote unquote, in New Zealand at our home on a Sunday afternoon. And our son was he wasn't even crawling yet, just a little baby. And, I have a whiteboard piece of paper on the wall and saying, okay, what's it going to look like? I mean, and I look back at that and like now this is in 3D and we're here and we're pushing 1,000 members soon. And when we, just as a background, when we opened January 18th of 2020, before we were closed down in March 18th of 2020. So we had 8 weeks of operations. We'd grown to 500 members pretty quickly. So we were actually on pace to cream 1,000, this time last year. But obviously COVID held back growth. But the fact that we've still had a positive net growth through this turbulence as a brand new brand in a city that is a B market city, that you wouldn't maybe expect a lot of growth from rapidly. I'd say we're on to something, know?
Sure. No, it's a cool concept. And we'll have the link in the show notes if y'all want to see it. Well, Carrie, I really appreciate you spending time. It's, it's nice to spend it, maybe nice, in the more formal interview environment where everyone else can hear us, because I know we have had the tendency to talk frequently in the last couple of years, but if you don't mind, a lot of young entrepreneurs listen to the show, and thank you all for that. And some fitness, many fitness professionals from around the world, and thank you all for that. Are there a couple of pearls of wisdom in closing that you might feel comfortable sharing with those folks about, if they have an idea or they're professionals in the business? What advice would you have? What pearls of wisdom might you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, boy, I don't know if I'm, if it's wisdom or not, but I suppose that one is be really open to listening and be really open and be really brave asking questions. Oftentimes our ego gets in the way. We're like, this is my idea. It's a great idea. And the creative process of anything is, it's precious to us. It hits us emotionally because we are creating something that we believe in and we have desire to do. And it's very hard sometimes to hear feedback. It feels like criticism but when you take it head on to say, I want people to push me and I'm going to ask for what they think. I'm going to ask for what they know or what they're willing to share with me. and I'm going to absorb it all. And some of it, you don't take on, and some of it really changes the evolution of your dream for the better. And so I think it's about being disciplined with your ego, like being proud of what you're going to create, but like really paying attention, and always look through the eyes of the customer, not yourself.
Those are two good pearls of wisdom, you see? I put you on the spot. Well, Carrie, it was so nice to have you join the audience, and I've been begging you to be on the podcast for a while now, but you're so busy
My pleasure.
all the time. And I know everyone's going to enjoy this interview. Thanks so much, and I will be giving links out to how to connect with my friend here on LinkedIn, or LinkedIn profile, as well as a bunch of other links that you can explore to learn more. Carrie, I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Bryan. It was such a pleasure. I really appreciate you as well. And good luck to everybody out there listening, and let's go create some healthier people in the world, right?
That's right. We'll see you in Dallas.
All right. See you in Dallas.
Bye. Hello, listeners. This is Bryan O'Rourke, and thanks so much for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. The podcast is made possible by the Fitness Industry Technology Council, a consortium of global brands working together to enhance the adoption of technologies in the fitness space. Our company, Videri Ventures, which is invested in Vertimax, Montezuma, Gold's Gym, Houston, Texas, and Fitness 24/7 Thailand, also underwrites the podcast, along with our service companies, Integris Advisors, Moon Mission Media, and others. Please feel free to share this podcast with your colleagues. And if I can be of any assistance to you, don't hesitate to reach out, bryanko'rourke@gmail.com, or find me on any of the major social networks. Have a great day, and thanks for listening.